$100 and a burger, he's yours." Her voice cut through the backyard noise like glass against metal. Every head turned. Laughter exploded. I stood there, beer in hand, realizing the joke was me. Evan, the neighbor with the smug grin, pulled out a roll of cash, flicked a bill, and said, "Make it 1,000. Lauren didn't hesitate. "Deal." The crowd howled. Phones lifted. Someone yelled, "Get this on camera!" Flashlights hit my face. I could feel every eye, every chuckle scraping my skin. It wasn't just a joke. It was an auction, and my dignity was the prize. The night smelled like burnt burgers and betrayal. That's the moment I stopped being her husband and started being the man she'd regret underestimating. If you've ever been laughed at by the person you love, hit subscribe. You'll want to hear what happened next. 2 weeks earlier, I told myself this cul-de-sac was a reset. Square lawns, mailboxes in a row like soldiers at attention. Next door full of lost cats, porch pirates, and people policing trash day. Costco halls stacked like sandbags against chaos. Fresh paint in the halls, sharp and hopeful. I lugged boxes in my work boots, mud drying in the treads, shirt sticking to my back, the kind of sweat that feels like progress. Lauren watched from the kitchen island, nails on the quartz. "Not like a rental," she said. "You're leaving streaks." I was still wearing my coat, still carrying our life in cardboard. I wanted to say, "I'm your husband, not your help." Instead, I wiped in slow, perfect circles, the way you do when the benefit of the doubt has been repossessed. Sun slid across the floor. The house clicked and sighed, settling into the dirt. I labeled rooms with blue tape and tried to imagine us fitting the labels. Lauren said the word again, "standards," like it could hold up the roof. I tasted metal and swallowed it. First reaction buried. Peace. Bought on credit. A shadow crossed the glass. Footsteps on the porch. The doorbell chimed. Bright, cheerful, brand new. Lauren's mouth lifted, stage ready. "Smile," she said, smoothing her dress. "Let's meet the neighbors." I set the rag down and wiped my hands on my jeans. Whatever this place was going to be, it was starting now. They arrived with warm cookies and easy charm. Evan led, Jim haircut, confident grin, a watch built to be seen. Sarah stood half a step back, clean sneakers, a school tee that said she shows up when it matters. I opened the door and the paint smell met the sugar. For a second, the house felt friendly. "Welcome to the loop," Evan said, shake firm, eyes practiced. I matched it. Sarah handed me the tin. "If something floods, yell. Everyone thinks they've got it, until water wins." Simple, true. Lauren drifted in, eyes skating from Sarah's shoes to Evan's watch, tallying out loud without numbers. "We should compare contractors," she said. "We like things done right." "Who doesn't?" Evan smiled. Sarah nodded toward me. "Luke's handy." Lauren's mouth bent. "He says he is. We'll see." Silence toured the foyer like a guest with time to kill. I felt it take notes. Sarah's eyes found mine and held a beat too long. Not pity, not nosy. Recognition. I know this pattern. "Good to meet you both," I said, setting the tin on the island. "Same," Sarah said, steady. When the door closed, the house shrank a half inch. Lauren's phone lit up with the Nextdoor app. "We need to host soon," she said, thumbs flying. "Image matters. Before that, anchors, frames, shelves. I want everything hung straight." She looked at my boots. "Home Depot, now, and please, try not to make 3 holes for 1 nail." Keys bit into my palm. "Let's find out," I said, and we walked to the truck. We drove to Home Depot with a list that sounded like a test. Anchors, level, stud finder, frames. I grabbed the stud finder first, the cheap one that hums, red light for yes, blank for no. At the register, the cashier smiled at my cart. "Big project or big apology?" Before I could answer, Lauren slid in, bright and helpful. "He'll drill 3 holes to hang 1 frame. It's kind of his thing." A couple in line laughed. I counted to 5 in my head and swiped my card. Outside, the air smelled like mulch and cut plywood. I loaded the boxes into the truck bed one by one, careful, steady. My jaw ached from being reasonable. Lauren buckled in and checked next door. We need a housewarming. People are already asking. I didn't look at her. I reached up and dropped the tailgate harder than needed. The slam went off like a low boom. Boxes jumped, the ratchet strap thrummed. That sound held the words I didn't say. Anger, compacted. Respect, overdue. On the drive home, streetlights winked across the windshield like tally marks. In my head, columns formed. Task, cost, time, owner. No more guesswork. No more doing it all and being told I did it wrong. The list sharpened with every mile. By the time we hit the last stop sign before our loop, the plan was written. Good, I said to no one. Let's do it right. That night I sat at the kitchen table with a cheap pen and the glow of a laptop. Google Sheets, blank and waiting. I built it clean. Task, owner, budget, due, done. Under tasks, I typed what our life kept tossing at me. Hang frames, assemble shelves, return HOA form, schedule lawn service, compare contractors, set party budget. Next to each, money and time. No fog, no favors disguised as love. Lauren walked in barefoot, scrolling. What's that? A map, I said. For both of us. I pointed. Pick your column. We meet Sunday mornings, 30 minutes. If the meeting runs long, we cut items, not each other. And one more line, no jokes at my expense in public. If you want to roast, bring a waiver. She lowered the phone. You're being dramatic. I'm being specific. She skimmed the sheet, chin tilted. Control freak. Boundary freak, I said, voice flat. The difference is, I'm not managing you. I'm managing me. She laughed without warmth. We'll see if you can stick to it. I turned the laptop so the screen faced her, the words bright as highway paint. We will, because, say it with me, no more invisible labor. The clock over the stove clicked to the next minute. She smiled like she'd just found a new game. I kept my seat, breathing even. The rules were simple, and they were mine. The next test would come fast. The next test came quick. Lauren skimmed the spreadsheet and sighed like I'd spilled paint on her plans. Don't gaslight me, Luke. I'm just setting boundaries. I let the words sit between us and cool. Gaslighting means denying reality. I wasn't denying anything. I wrote it down in columns. Boundaries. Those are about what I will do, not rules for what you must be. A boundary says, I won't let you joke at my expense. Control says, you'll behave the way I script. One protects dignity, the other polishes image. She kept going, soft voice, sharp edges. You're being rigid. This is teamwork. Teamwork that somehow always needed an audience. Standards that changed with the room, jokes that only punched one direction. I could feel the old reflex rise, explain myself, bargain, turn my pockets inside out to prove I'm reasonable. I pressed it down like a bubbling lid. Silence can be a weapon, sure, but tonight it was a level and a square. I checked the line. Was I steady? Yes. Was the rule clear? Yes. 30 minutes on Sundays. Split tasks. No public humiliation. Simple. She nodded like she'd won something. We'll make it cute, she said. We'll host soon. Fine by me. Parties measure people. We'd put this one on the scale and see what weighed more, respect or the show. By midweek, half the block had an invite. Next door buzzed, housewarming at the Bennetts. Lauren loved the replies. Hearts, claps, the neighbors who only RSVP to be seen. Ron from the HOA stopped by to remind me mailbox height was a community value. I said I'd grab a tape. He said he had one. Of course he did. I ran string lights along the fence, checked the outlets, tested the grill. The backyard looked good in a way men understand. Things worked. Lauren rehearsed her tour inside. Quartz counters, organized garage, we're doing built-ins for Luke's tools. It sounded less like pride and more like a press release. Evan swung by with folding chairs. Pick these up, he said, easy grin. I thanked him, wiped my hands on a rag. Lauren stepped in for a thanks hug, friendly, public. It stayed a beat longer than friendly. 1, 2, half of 3. My heartbeat answered it. One hard knock on a locked door. Sarah watched from the path, quiet, unreadable. She took the other end of a chair stack. Need anything else? She asked me. Not him. I'm good, I said, and meant it. Good at noticing, good at filing details. As evening fell, the yard glowed. From the street, we looked like a picture. Inside my chest, a warning light flickered. 2 beats too long. That's how cracks start. Small, then permanent. Tomorrow, Lauren said, bright. Let's give them a night to remember. We would. Just not the way she planned. By morning, the party had a life of its own. Next door hummed, "Who's bringing potato salad? Who needs extra chairs? Who's so excited to see the renovations?" Lauren read the comments aloud like weather reports. "Image matters," she said, not looking at me, more like checking with the mirror. I watched her switch voices depending on who texted. Warm for the popular ones, clipped for the quiet ones, syrupy for Ron and his HOA tape measure. It wasn't conversation, it was programming. Somewhere between "let's do a signature cocktail" and "we need a photo wall," I felt the old habit tug. Be the easy husband, nod, carry, smile on cue. I let the tug pass. I wasn't joining the audience for my own life. I pulled out my phone, opened Nextdoor, and shut off notifications. Small click, big shift. The silence that followed felt clean, like shutting a window on a leaf blower. Lauren kept planning out loud, composing a version of us for strangers. I started composing something else. Distance. Not the dramatic kind. The kind that lets you breathe. I pictured the yard at dusk, the string lights we hung, the grill I tuned to run hot and even. Things that worked because they were built to. No applause needed. "Image matters," she repeated, thumbs moving, eyes lit. I slid the phone into my pocket and nodded once. "Respect matters more," I said, mostly to myself. The day moved forward. So did I. Dusk showed up right on schedule. Bottles hissed open. Someone cracked a joke about HOA fines and got a bigger laugh than he deserved. I set the sliders on the island and wiped my hands on a towel that said, "Bless this mess." Lauren's idea of irony. She gathered a crowd like a tour guide and walked them through upgrades, pausing where compliments pooled. "Quartz counters," she said, tapping the edge. "And we're doing built-ins for Luke's tools so the garage finally looks like an adult lives here." Soft laughter, the polite kind that bites on the way down. I caught Evan's grin from across the room and felt that half-beat echo from yesterday's hug. I poured sodas, slow and steady, letting the glass fill to the right line. Sarah's eyes found mine. Apology, warning, both. I gave her a single nod back. "I see it. I'm steady. No one needs a scene. Not yet." Ron cornered me about mailbox heights and hedge lines. I let him talk. Let the noise run around me while I stacked plates and refilled ice. The island turned into a stage. I stayed off it. Every quip at my expense, I slipped into my pocket and pressed flat. You can carry a lot if you fold it right. When Lauren raised her glass for a quick toast, the room leaned in. I didn't. I braced, quiet as a post set in concrete. Whatever was coming, I'd take it standing. Lauren lifted her glass, chin high, eyes bright with borrowed light. $100 and a burger, he's yours. The room leaned in like it heard free money, grease on plates, condensation on bottles. Someone's scooter clacked the porch. I stood at the island with tongs in my hand, feeling the heat off the sliders like a warning flare. Evan didn't hesitate. He peeled off a crisp stack, thumb snapping the edge. "Make it 1,000. Bills hit the quartz with that dry, papery smack you never forget. The air paused, half beat, full beat, then Lauren smiled too wide and said, "Deal." The word dropped like a hammer. Heads turned. Laughter went mean. Phones came up, red dots blinking live. "Get this," somebody whispered, as if humiliation needed a camera to count. Ron from the HOA chuckled into his cup. A neighbor I didn't know elbowed another like he'd spotted a bargain. I didn't move. I set the tongs down, lined up bottles in a neat row, and gave myself one breath. Not a scene, not a speech, just a record of who laughed, who watched, who looked away. The noise swelled until it became a wall. And then, right through the gap in the wall, Sarah stepped forward, hand in her bag, eyes steady, breaking the lane like a driver who knows the rules and chooses the right one. She pulled a tight roll of bills, set it beside Evan's stack, and set it flat. "Take him." No wink, no smile, just the sentence landing like a road flare. The room hiccuped. Silence stretched a foot, then two. You could hear ice settle in glasses. Evan's smirk twitched. Lauren blinked, waiting for Sarah to laugh first. She didn't. She let the line breathe, let the mirror sit in front of Lauren's face. This is what you sounded like. Then Sarah tilted her head, a fraction, and the corner of her mouth lifted. There's your punchline. Real laughter broke, the good kind, the kind that snaps a spell. Not at me, at the stunt, at the host who forgot people can see. Lauren's smile went tight and uneven, a zipper snagged on fabric. Kidding, she said too loud, clinking a glass that didn't want to be clinked. Evan looked anywhere but at his wife. I turned to the cooler and poured soda slow, the fizz steady as rain. My pulse cooled with it. The room reset around the sound of liquid and ice. Respect didn't return, but the balance did, enough to stand. Sarah met my eyes over the rim of a plastic cup. No pity, more like, "You're not crazy, everyone just saw it." I gave her the smallest nod a man gives when he owes someone a thank you and a debt of quiet. The party moved on, music up, jokes softer, but the night had already chosen its memory. And when the house emptied, that memory would still be sitting on the counter between the money and the truth. When the last laugh drifted down the street, I started cleaning. Plates stacked, cups nested, stray napkins scraped into a black trash bag that breathed like a lung. Grease cooled on the grill, turning shiny to dull. The house had that after-party smell, sugar, beer, and something cheap pretending to be joy. Lauren hovered by the island scrolling. It was a joke, Luke. People laughed. Relax. I rinsed the tongs, set them to dry. The sound a man makes when he won't hand you a fight. She tried a softer lane. You're sensitive tonight. You asked for a show, I said, wiping the counter. You got one. Don't be dramatic, she said, louder than necessary, like volume could buy back class. I let the room answer her. Bottles kissed in the recycling, glass on glass, polite and final. The dishwasher hummed. Somewhere a chair leg ticked as it cooled. I kept my hands moving. It's easier to keep dignity when they're busy. When the kitchen stopped arguing with itself, I set the trash by the back door and stepped onto the porch. Cool air. Quiet road. String lights gone dim, stars doing what they've always done. Steady, uninterested. Across the loop, a single porch light hung on. A figure leaned on the rail, elbows forward, face turned to the street. I took a breath through my nose, slow. Not a scene. Not tonight. Timing matters. I walked down the steps, trash bag in one hand, gratitude in the other. Sarah didn't flinch when I stopped at the bottom step. She just said, "Rough night," like she was reading the weather off my face. "Thanks," I told her. "You didn't have to do that." "I didn't do much," she said. "Just put a wall in front of a bad joke so it wouldn't run you over." "That's more than most." I leaned on the post, palms open. I knew the signs. I just kept calling them noise. She nodded, slow. "Don't stand where she can trip you, Luke. People only do that when it works." I looked at the quiet street, the careful lawns, all the ways a place can look safe while you bleed inside it. "Yeah," I said. "It's been working." "Then make it stop." No pep talk, no sermon, just direction. I could hear a TV inside someone's house, commentator soft, a game going nowhere. "I set rules tonight," I said. "Shared tasks, 30-minute check-ins, no public shots at me. I'll keep them." "Good." She tapped the rail once. "You're not crazy. Everyone saw it." "Useful to know," I said, and meant it. We stood there a minute, not rushing the silence. No gossip, no digging, clean. "Anyway," Sarah said, stepping back, "get some sleep. Tomorrow's still tomorrow." "It is," I said, "and it's not going to look like tonight." I walked home lighter by an ounce, the weight you drop when someone else confirms the truth you already knew. By morning, Lauren had a spreadsheet of her own, guest list, mimosa bar, casual chic dress code. "Brunch Sunday," she said, phone in hand. "Nicole, the Thompsons, Ron and his wife. We'll reset the vibe." "No," I said. One word, clean. "No more ambushes." Her head snapped up. "Excuse me?" "I'm canceling it." I kept my voice flat, not a ripple. "We're not doing group therapy in public. If we host, it's respectful or it doesn't happen." She barked a laugh that didn't find air. You don't get to cancel my plans, Luke. I just did. I typed 3 texts. Brunch postponed, new date TBD, sent, done. Here are the house rules going forward. Short list. We invite people we respect. We don't perform each other. If someone starts, the host ends it. And if you need an audience, buy tickets somewhere else. Color rose in her cheeks. You're being controlling. I'm being specific, I said. Boundaries are about what I do. This is what I do. I don't host disrespect. She paced 2 steps like the floor had moved. Everyone will talk. They already are. I set my phone down like a gavel. Let them get it right. Silence took the room and sat heavy. She looked past me to the neat yard, the good lights, how ready everything was for applause. I let the quiet stand. First clean power in weeks, brunch canceled, and the day stayed steady. That evening, the house smelled like something close to home. Garlic, chicken, the kind of effort you can't fake with takeout. Lauren set 2 plates like peace treaties. I overdid it, she said, eyes soft but calculating. Pressure got to me. I wanted us to look together. She reached for a gentler word and didn't find one. I'm sorry, kind of a mess lately. I ate. It was good. Salt a little high. I said thank you because decency isn't a bargain. She smiled at the sound. You should wear the gray shirt I got you, she added. You look strong in it. I'll wear what fits the day, I said, and I'll keep the rules. Her fork tapped the rim, tiny bell. Can we just forget the other night? No. I sipped water. We can move forward. We don't rewrite. She tilted her head. You really won't give me an inch. I gave inches for years. I'm measuring in standards now. The quiet between us wasn't hostile. It was accurate. She tried one more lane, hand on my arm, thumb tracing the vein. Team? She asked. Only if it plays fair. Her hand fell away. The food cooled. We cleared plates side by side like coworkers. When the dishwasher clicked shut, I felt the line hold. No giving back what I had finally taken. The right to mean what I say. I told Paul I needed a long lunch. He looked up from the invoice pile, brow set. You sick or you scouting trouble? Confirming a pattern, I said, the words like a socket wrench biting down. He wiped his hands on a rag. Want me along? I shook my head. If I'm wrong, I want to be wrong alone. If I'm right, same answer. He studied me a beat. You don't sound mad. I'm not. I'm precise. I grabbed my keys. Precision pays. He nodded once, the way men do when the advice is already understood. Text me if you need muscle, he said, meaning presence, not fists. Out in the lot, the sun was high and honest. My stomach felt like I'd swallowed a handful of screws, cold, threaded, waiting. There are moments you can't dodge without losing yourself. You take them head on and pay the bill. Back in the office, I set my phone to silent. No music, no talk radio, just the click of the clock and the hum of the soda machine. I laid out the facts in my head. Timelines, small tells, 2-beat hugs. Built it like a service checklist. No leaks, check, no lies. We'll see. I accepted the cost before I left the door. Sometimes clarity is a burn you choose. I chose it. Lauren left at 9 in athleisure and sunglasses, the uniform for errands you want seen. She kissed the air, not me, and said, studio class, then Target. A rideshare rolled up. I let 2 car lengths of silence fall between us and followed. She got out at a place with walls of glass, the kind of restaurant that brags about being seen. Evan was waiting at the door, smile easy, hand already lifting. The hug landed and stayed. 1 beat, 2, half of 3. My chest answered once, hard and exact. They sat near the window. She touched his sleeve like she always had. He ordered like he'd done it before. Her laugh was smaller than at home, something people keep for someone they want to impress. I watched the reflections more than their faces. Reflections don't lie to be polite. When they stood, his hand found hers on instinct. Not a decision, a reflex. Fingers settled, relaxed, tightened. That's the problem with practice. It looks natural because it is. They walked out like a couple leaving a matinee. I let their car get a block ahead and fell in. Past strip malls, past storage units, past anything you'd name on a map. 2 turns later, they pulled behind a discount furniture store. A motel sat there, cheap and quiet. I parked far back, felt the phone in my palm, and knew what had to happen next. They kept driving until the names on signs didn't matter. Cheap flags, faded banners, the backside of town. The car turned behind a discount furniture store, the kind that sells couches by the pound. And there it was, a 2-story motel with tired doors and a vacancy sign that never sleeps. I parked far back, where dust remembers old plans. My hands shook just enough to tell the truth, but the frame stayed steady. First shot, them at the office window, faces tilted in, the way people do when they've done it before. Second shot, their door, numbers crooked, keycard light blinking green. 2 clicks, clean, final. The sound hit like a period at the end of a sentence that didn't need another word. I didn't wait to see them come out. I didn't need more story than the one the camera told. I slid the phone into my pocket and felt the outline burn against my leg. Proof, cold as a wrench in January. On the way back, the road ran straight and long. No music, no calls, just the hum under the tires and a man counting breaths. I checked the rules I wrote for myself. No scenes, no speeches, no begging someone to be what they aren't. Follow the plan. Protect the dignity you can save. By the time the exit for our loop appeared, my hands were calm. The decision was already made, and decisions, once made, are quiet. Home smelled like lemon cleaner and fresh promises. I went to the closet, pulled down the suitcase we used for weddings and funerals, and set it on the bed. Her side of the dresser gave up what it always gives up. Stacks of black clothes, the effortless kind that takes effort. I folded, not neat, not messy, exact. Enough to speak, not enough to argue. Toiletries went in a clear bag so nothing could hide. Serum, brushes, the pink bottle she likes. I zipped it. The sound felt like a door learning its job. In the bathroom mirror, a man I recognized looked back. Tired, not broken. Steady. I rolled the suitcase to the front door and set it upright, handle out. The hallway light put a clean ring on the floor around it, like tape at a crime scene. Verdict, visible. No note, no flourish. Just the truth in object form. The house was quiet but not empty. The dishwasher breathed. The clock over the stove made small, honest noises. I poured a glass of water and took the chair at the kitchen table with my phone face up. 2 photos waiting like witnesses. The lemon smell held. The counters I wiped a dozen times were streak-free, finally living up to her word. I let that land. She taught me about standards. Fine, here's one. I checked the time. Plenty before she'd be home. I didn't rehearse. I didn't pray. I sat there and waited, calm as a locked door, with nothing left to hide and nothing left to buy back. The lock clicked. Heels crossed the threshold. Lauren saw the suitcase, stopped, and smoothed her face like a bedsheet. "What are you doing home?" "Figured I'd perfect the countertops," I said. "How was lunch?" "Errands, Pilates." "Why?" Her eyes slid past me to the patio, nowhere near mine. "Try again." She exhaled through her nose. "Luke, I'm not doing this. You're being..." I set my phone on the table, screen up. 2 photos, office window, motel door. The kitchen swallowed its own air. Her mouth twitched, just the corner, like a wire pulled too tight. Then stillness. No tears, no speech. The house ticked. The fridge hummed. Silence did what spotlights do. It found the truth and held it. She reached for sarcasm, came up empty. "So, we're staging scenes now?" "We're naming them." She glanced at the suitcase, then at the handle. Calculations ran behind her eyes like stock prices. I didn't fill the space. I let the quiet harden around the facts until they stayed put. "Luke," she said, soft as steam, "we've been under pressure. I wanted us to look." "You got the look," I said. "Now you get the bill." Her jaw worked. The island between us felt like a courtroom. The evidence sat an inch from her hand, brighter than any defense. She touched the counter once, looking for the old script. It didn't pick up. The truth stood there, unbothered. And I didn't move. "You have 2 options," I said, voice level. "Take that bag and go. Or in 10 minutes I call across the street and share my 2 favorite pictures." Her chin rose. "You think packing a suitcase makes you strong?" "Boundaries make me a man." I slid the phone closer. "Clock starts now." She laughed too lightly. "You wouldn't." 9:50. I didn't look away. This isn't a fight. It's a choice. She circled the island, eyes on me, trying doors that used to open. Pity, charm, superiority. Each one stuck. We're a team, Luke. People make mistakes. Teams don't sell each other for applause. 8:20. She glanced at the front window, at the street that knows everything eventually. Her hand hovered over the suitcase handle, then retreated. You're being cruel. No, I said. I'm being clear. 6:40. She stepped closer, palm to my chest. Old trick, familiar heat. I didn't move. Her hand fell. 5 even. The room shrank to the length of the hallway and the weight of a decision. Somewhere outside, a dog barked. Inside, only our breathing. She grabbed the handle. The wheels rattled over the threshold, little plastic verdicts. She didn't slam the door, she sealed it. The sound was smaller than I expected and larger than anything we'd said. I watched through the front window as the car pulled away. My phone stayed on the table, face down now, not needed. The countdown was over. The standard wasn't. I locked the guest room door and set the key on the nightstand. Not fear, order. The bedspread was too new, the pillows too high, the kind of stiffness that comes with a warranty. I lay back anyway, shoes off, belt on, like a man who only needs one thing: quiet. The house made small, honest noises, the fridge's soft breath, ducts settling, the tick of the hallway clock. No perfume in the air, no phone lighting up with other people's needs. My chest rose and fell on time for the first time in months. I listened to it like you listen to an engine you just rebuilt. Idle smooth, no rattle. Sometime past midnight, I woke to a square of streetlight on the ceiling, clean as a promise. I turned on my side and didn't reach for anyone. There was no strange empty space, just room that belonged to me again. I said nothing to the dark. The dark said nothing back. Fair trade. When morning showed up, it came through the blinds in straight lines. I sat up without the usual weight, swung my legs over the edge, and touched the floor like it would hold. First sleep that didn't bargain with me. First waking that didn't ask for a performance. I made the bed, tucked the sheet, clicked the lock open. The day could come in now. I waited until I saw Sarah's car nose into the driveway, no Evan beside her, just the careful park of someone who thinks ahead. I crossed the street and knocked once. She opened fast, like she'd been standing on the inside of the door already. "Got a minute?" I asked. She stepped back and pointed at a chair. I didn't sit. I set my phone on the table, brought up the 2 photos, and slid it across. No speech, just proof. Her hand found the back of the chair and held. Not drama, balance. She looked from the screen to the window and back again, measuring the size of the fall. "How sure are you?" "I was there," I said. 12:50 to 1:40. She nodded once, eyes clear. "Okay. I'm not here to make a scene," I added. "I'm here because you put your shoulder in front of a bad joke and it saved me. You deserve the same respect." She breathed out, slow. "Thank you." "I'll handle my side quietly," I said. "I'll handle mine," she answered, the words fitting her mouth like they'd been waiting. We traded numbers. No hug, no rage rehearsal. The kind of calm that only happens when the truth is finally in the room and nobody's trying to dress it. At the door, she said, "I'll take it from here." "Good," I said. "That's exactly where it belongs." First stop was the front door. I pulled the old keypad cover, punched a code that used to mean birthdays, and wiped it clean. New numbers, new rule. The deadbolt turned like it was learning a better language. I texted Lauren 3 lines. Code changed. Logistics only. No drop-ins. Read receipt popped up, gray and cold. The house had paperwork veins I'd ignored. I opened the drawer where envelopes breed. Insurance, HOA, utilities, warranties nobody honors. I stacked what mattered, shredded what performed. Names split into 2 piles. Hers, mine. The shredder chewed steady, a small animal doing honest work. The file cabinet clicked when the rail caught, folders in line, tabs facing the same way. Simple order, the kind no one claps for but men sleep on. I set a new delivery code for packages. I labeled a key garage only for Paul. I wrote down nothing I'd regret. Every small fix felt like a line closing. Loose wire taped, leaky valve snugged. Back at the door, I tested the code again. The keypad beeped. The bolt bit. Cash. A clean bite, like a tool finally gripping. Closure doesn't shout. It seals. I stood there another second, palm flat on the wood. Not nostalgia. Inventory. The house knew me again. I wasn't locking anyone in or out. I was locking a standard in place. If she needed boxes, we'd schedule it. If she needed an audience, she could try another door. At noon, the bell over the shop door rang, thin and eager. I was under a hood, socket set ready, when Paul's boots stopped by my elbow. "She's here," he said. Not a question. I wiped my hands and stayed where I was. Workplace only. He nodded, walked back out, and became a wall. Lauren's perfume hit first. Expensive. Urgent. "Luke, I brought lunch. Can we talk?" Paul's voice stayed calm. "He's with a customer." "I see the bay is empty," she snapped. He didn't flinch. "This is a shop," he said. "No personal drop-ins." Gothic heels on concrete, sharp, fast, performing for a jury that wasn't there. "He's being ridiculous," she told the air. I rolled the cart back into place, let the ratchet click once, final, not angry. Then I called out without looking up, "Text me for logistics." The words sounded like a posted sign. Silence, then a small scoff. "You're making me look bad." "You did that work yourself," I said, still under the hood. Her heels pivoted. Doorbell again, harder this time. Paul came back slow, eyes saying what men say without talking. "You held." I set the socket down. "Thanks," he shrugged. "Gate's there for a reason." I checked the torque one more time and felt something seat inside me. Firm, measured. I wasn't playing by the old script anymore. The shop smelled like oil and certainty. Outside, life could perform. In here, things either tightened to spec or they didn't. At 6:10, my phone buzzed. A photo from Lauren. Boxes lined in her trunk, lids half shut like they were holding their breath. No caption, no thank you, just proof she'd collected what was hers and nothing else. I put the phone face down and kept wiping the bench in the garage until the rag came up clean. 2 hours later, 8:30, another ping. "You humiliated me." Not a question. Not even anger. Branding. She'd need me to wear the blame so she could keep the image. I stared at the text long enough to hear my heartbeat even out. Then I typed one line and hit send. "You did that work yourself." 3 dots rose, fell, disappeared. The phone went quiet, the way a room goes quiet when someone finally turns off the fan you stopped noticing months ago. I set it on the shelf next to the torque wrench, tools for tightening what stays and letting go of what doesn't. Out in the street, a sprinkler ticked through its arc. The neighborhood kept pretending it was fine. Inside, I checked inventory, keys, wallet, standards, in my head. Still there, still mine. I killed the garage light and walked through a house that didn't echo. If the night had more to say, it could wait. Whatever came next wouldn't require a speech, just the truth, in small, exact sentences. Close to midnight, a softer tone. "Sarah." Told him. Then the rest came in beats, like a heart relearning rhythm. He blamed you, then me, then the weather. I showed him the photos. He packed a bag, going to his brother's. "I'm filing paperwork when I've got the logistics lined up." I leaned against the counter, thumb hovering over the keyboard longer than a man should, then typed what could be meant and held. "Peace to you." She sent back a single dot. Then, "You too." 2 houses on one loop, peeling off onto separate roads. No shouting, no porch theater, just doors closing and adults doing adult work. I pictured Evan's watch face in the restaurant glass, his hand finding hers like a reflex. Reflexes can be unlearned. Sometimes the class starts with a document and a key returned. I poured water and listened to the ice crack once in the glass. There's a freedom in being done that anger can't buy. The neighborhood would talk, but it would talk anyway. Truth doesn't need a press release. Before bed, I set my phone on Do Not Disturb and felt the quiet settle on my shoulders without weight. 1 house lighter, 1 house straighter. 2 people finally saying the sentence that changes everything. "I'll handle my side." Then doing it. Morning would come, and with it, a different kind of work. the kind that pays in sleep. The doorbell went off like a fire alarm, once, twice, 6 times in a row. I let the first 5 die. On the 6th, I opened the app and hit speaker. Nicole filled the porch camera, hair sharp, mouth sharper. "You're making Lauren look bad," she said, loud enough for the azaleas to hear. "This whole thing is unnecessary." "Nicole," I said, voice flat. "2 nights ago, she lifted a glass and sold her husband for a burger. Neighbor tossed 1,000. She said, 'Deal, you were there.'" She blinked at her own reflection in the lens. It was a joke. "So is a whoopee cushion," I said. "This wasn't that." "She's under pressure," she fired back. "You humiliated her." I repeated what she did in front of her audience. That's called a recap. I let the sentence stand. No heat. "If you've got logistics, text them. The porch isn't a stage." For a second, she searched for a comeback with teeth. None showed. She adjusted a bracelet that didn't need adjusting and tried one last shot. "People are talking." "They were talking that night," I said. "They heard the same word you did." "What word?" she snapped, already losing ground. "Deal." Silence. She turned, heels cutting hard lines in the walkway, and left. The camera view slid back to a quiet street. I locked the phone. The house stayed calm. I didn't win anything. I just stopped losing. At 6 a.m., the garage light hummed and Ed was already stretching his shoulders. Retired firefighter, joints like old rope, eyes like a man who's seen houses stand and houses fail. "Bars at 185, he said. "Truth fixes." "Truth fixes," I echoed, chalking my palms. The knurling bit skin, honest pain, no story. I ducked under, set my feet, and pulled. Air in, air out. The bar rose clean, hips through, elbows tight. Set it down quiet, then again, until the breath found rhythm and the noise in my head didn't. Sweat ran into my eyes. Ed racked his set and nodded once, approval without applause. "You look lighter," he said. "I'm precise," I answered. "Big difference." We cycled. Rows, presses, carries. Hard up, mind steady. Between sets, he said the kind of thing older men keep for men who'll use it. "Noise doesn't fix things," he grunted. "Doing does." I nodded. Let the bar speak for me. On the last set, I pushed to the edge where form holds or breaks. It held. The metal kissed the rack with that sure little rack. A stamp. Decision seated. Standard tight. We wiped down the bench. No talk about feelings. No postgame. Outside, the cul-de-sac yawned awake. Sprinklers, trucks, normal life. Inside me, the meter read true. I wasn't stronger than yesterday. I was truer. And truth moves weight that pride can't budge. At the shop, Paul watched me torque a pulley and grinned. "You look lighter," he said. "I'm precise," I told him. "Big difference." He slid a folder across the counter. The city's fleet contract we'd chased for a year. Service vans, steady work, parts discounts that make the numbers smile. "They called back," he said. "They want us." I wiped my hands and opened the packet. Terms clean, timeline fair, no fluff, no favors, just work we could stand behind. I called the coordinator, asked 3 questions, liked the answers, and said yes. Paul uncapped a pen and handed it over. The signature felt like downshifting into the right gear, engine easing, wheels catching, forward without grind. "Precision pays," he echoed, almost a toast. "It always has," I said, and meant it. We booked the first vans, set a schedule, ordered parts. The day moved with that click only good systems have, phone to invoice to lift bay to test drive. Outside, the sun cleared the roofline. Inside, the air smelled like rubber and purpose. Paul clapped my shoulder once. "Head up," he said. I lifted my chin and did the simplest thing men forget when they're drowning. I breathed. Not deeper. Truer. Then I went back to the bay and let the work prove what the words already knew. After closing, I rolled the bike into the center of the garage and cracked the carburetor open. Float, jet, needle, tiny brass promises arranged by someone who believed in order. I cleaned the grit, set the idle screw a hair right, and thumbed the starter. The engine coughed, thought about lying, then settled into a steady thrum. No wobble, no skip, just truth in octaves. The workbench stood where a floral wall was supposed to go, birch tops scarred in the right places, tools hung in lines that make sense to a tired brain. The garage light sat warm and low, enough to see, not enough to perform. I poured coffee from a dented thermos and leaned on the bench while the motor warmed. Steam curled from the lid and found my face. In the quiet between revs, I heard the day file itself. Contract signed, boundaries held, no porch theater, no apologies for asking life to run to spec. I blipped the throttle. The needle climbed and fell smooth. Heart followed. It's funny what steadies a man. Sometimes it's a prayer, sometimes it's a carb set right. I killed the engine and let the silence fill the shape it left. On the pegboard, a hook waited for the wrench. I hung it back. Coffee gone, light off, door down. Out on the street, the loop slept. In here, everything that mattered was set to idle, ready to move when I was. Tuesday night, bins lined the curb like helmets on a wall. I rolled mine out and nearly collided with Sarah doing the same. She held a small parcel with my name on it. Wrong porch, right timing. We traded boxes with a half smile, the kind adults use when life has already done the heavy talking. "Thanks," I said. "Anytime," she answered, eyes clear, shoulders squared the way people stand after they've told the truth and let it cost what it costs. We stood there a beat, the street lamp drawing a pale ring around our shoes. "People think two broken halves make a whole," she said. "I'm not glue," I replied, "and I'm not a project." She nodded. "No patch jobs." "No patch jobs," I echoed. "Whole alone beats together wrong." The words fit, like a socket finding the right bolt. Something eased in both of us, not romance, not even promise. Just a straight line where a messy one used to be. We talked about trash pickup times and Ron's mailbox crusade, small talk that held. No brushing hands, no linger for later. Just neighbors who understood that not making a new mess is a kind of love too. She lifted her bin lid, I lifted mine, and the plastic clapped shut in unison. Agreement. Signed without ink. "Good night, Luke," she said. "Night, Sarah." We walked back to our separate doors, whole enough to wait. Saturday morning, a sedan idled at my curb. Lauren stepped out in sunglasses. Her father unfolded from the passenger seat, good jacket, eyes on the concrete like he wished it could tell him what to say. I held the door, said nothing, and pointed to the labeled boxes. He lifted, she supervised. Old choreography, wrong music. We didn't argue over cups and pans. I'd made it simple on purpose. Keep, go, done. Her father carried the last box, set it on the porch, and gave me a nod that hurt more than any speech. He went to the car, sat, and stared at his hands. Lauren lingered in the doorway, scanning the room she'd staged like a magazine. "It didn't have to be like this," she said, voice soft, angling for the cut that bleeds memory. "It could have been different," I agreed, if respect had showed up. She waited for me to hand her a montage, first road trips, cheap apartments, the way she used to laugh from her stomach. I didn't. I kept the present steady. There's a trap in nostalgia. It asks you to pay for yesterday with today. She pressed her lips, then tried one last line. "You'll miss me." "I'll miss who I thought you were," I said. "I won't miss the show." A small exhale. She stepped back. The door closed. No slam, just a careful seal. The house breathed once, then stood still. I set the deadbolt and felt nothing dramatic, just the clean click of a standard holding. Ron's lawn looked like a golf green someone forgot to charge rent for. Folding chairs in rows, clipboard in his lap. "Mailbox Heights," he announced, like we were voting on a moon landing. People nodded as if geometry could save a marriage. Nicole raised her hand before the air cooled. "Quick note," she sang. "This community values image. Maybe we should all be careful what we put on display." Heads turned without moving. I took a sip of coffee and let the silence collect. "Couldn't agree more," I said, starting with not selling your husband for a burger. A cough tried to hide as a laugh. Then 3 more, the kind that knows exactly what it's laughing at. Ron blinked twice, pen hovering. Nicole's smile flattened like a tire kissing a nail. It was a joke, she said, brittle. So's a Halloween costume, I answered. This wasn't October. Ron clapped his clipboard once, happy to move. Back to Mailbox Heights. Relief rolled through the chairs. The show was over and nobody wanted an encore. I leaned back and watched the neighbors pick their eyes up off the grass. No triumph, no strut, just a line drawn with a dry pen and a steady hand. If a one-liner can hold a boundary, let it. The meeting droned on about inches and fines. I checked my watch, finished my coffee, and walked home while the claps were still polite. I swapped the dining room chandelier, the crystal spider Lauren loved, for a plain fixture that shows you your plate and not your reflection. Light fell honest on the table. No mood, just sight. I paid the utility stack online, color-coded the folders, killed 2 subscriptions that pretended to be needs. The budget exhaled. Sunday morning, timer set for 20. My own check-in, projects, bills, week ahead. I moved the pen only when something moved in real life. No performative boxes. When the bell hit 20 hunty, I closed the notebook. No carryover speeches. Time obeyed me for once. The garage became a chapel for simple things. Oil that doesn't leak, tools that go back where they came from, coffee that stays hot long enough to matter. I didn't ask anyone if it looked good from the street. I already knew it worked from inside. Messages came in, neighbors, logistics, the HOA link Ron loves to send. I answered what needed answering and left the rest to evaporate. I don't owe every ping my pulse. Some winds don't throw confetti, they just stay fixed. A switch that doesn't buzz, a hinge that doesn't squeal, a man who doesn't apologize for needing respect. I wiped the counter, looked at the clean edge of the new light, and let a small smile happen where nobody could see. Not happy. Accurate. Then I turned the page and set the next 20 minutes for living. The deal showed up on a Tuesday. 12 F-150, clean title, a few honest scratches. I met the owner behind a hardware store and ran my hand along the bed rail like you greet a dog you might take home. Engine started first turn. No knocks, no story. I counted cash into his palm and shook on it, paper and grip. Old language, still fluent. Back in the cul-de-sac, Ed walked over with a socket set and that firefighter squint that sees through flames and sales pitches. "Let's hang a hitch," he said. We worked without commentary, bolt, washer, torque, sweat in our eyes, shirts stuck, water bottles emptying like hourglasses. The metal seated with a tidy clunk you don't get from promises, only fit. I parked it in the driveway nose out, not tucked away like a mistake. Keys were warm from my pocket. I turned them, and the motor answered with a low, certain note. Freedom starting up, nothing to prove. I didn't text a picture for approval. I didn't ask if it looked good from the street. The street can vote on parades, not purpose. Ed wiped his hands on a rag and nodded once. Good truck. Good enough, I said, and meant it. We stood there a minute, 2 men appreciating a tool that would work when asked. Then he walked home, and I stood a little taller next to something that belonged to me because I said so. Life did what it does, filled the space. The new couple 2 doors down had twins who wailed in stereo at sunset, tiny sirens that made everybody forgive their own noise. Ron sent out a notice about mailbox violations and then got fined himself for a bracket out of spec, proving the universe keeps receipts. Trash days kept coming. So did the mail. Word moved like weather. Lauren and Evan were listing. Then they were pending. Then a moving truck blocked the loop, and nobody complained. I watched boxes cross a threshold that wasn't mine, and felt nothing but the wind. They were not in my schedule anymore. Not in my route to the store. Not in the version of me I woke up to. Neighbors waved the way people do when they prefer new chapters to old gossip. Sarah mowed her lawn, steady lines, no pauses. We traded a misdelivered package and no extra words. Respect knows when to be brief. I changed oil in the truck and let the used filter drain into a pan, black giving way to clean. Drama has a way of thinning like that. Heavy at first, then less each week until you forget what it weighed. The cul-de-sac found its temperature again. So did I. No victory lap, no speech, just a calendar without their names on it and a life that worked because I tightened what was mine to tighten and left the rest alone. Early fall came in on a dry breeze that smelled like leaves thinking about quitting. Somewhere down the block, a radio called a late baseball game, voices low, patient, like men who've learned to wait for the pitch they want. I rolled my bin to the curb and met Sarah halfway, wheels humming on the concrete like two small engines agreeing. We parked them side by side under the street lamp and leaned a second. Breath visible, but not dramatic. "We made it through," she said, not bragging, not asking. "We did," I answered. Silence stood with us, not heavy, earned. A sedan drifted by slow, the driver hunting an address that didn't exist. The twins 2 houses down gave one short cry and then thought better of it. Sarah tipped her head toward our neat, simple houses. We set a standard. The words hung there like a flag nobody needs to salute to believe. Not a standard for the block, for us. No scene-making, no bargain basement jokes, no winning the internet by losing each other. A standard you keep when nobody's watching. We traded a misdelivered envelope, bank window, nothing urgent. "Thanks," I said. "Anytime." We turned our bins 90 degrees the way the city likes and stepped back. The radio called a strike. The breeze lifted, then quit. We didn't plan anything next. We didn't need to. The night knew where to put us, and for once, it was right. A week later, same hour, same curb. Sarah slid a package into my hands and said it plain. "Thank you for not torching her at your own party." Most men would have swung back. "I don't trade digs," I said. "I prefer invoices paid in full." She smiled at that, quick, real. "Respect over revenge?" "Every time. Revenge is loud and hungry. Respect eats once and stays full." We watched the street blink itself quiet, porch lights off in a slow wave, TVs dimming, the last dog making peace with the yard. "You held the line," she said. "So did you," I answered. She nodded, like a ref signaling the call stands. No soft music, no promises, just two people who didn't add a new mess to clean. She tugged her hoodie tighter. "Sleep good, Luke." "You too." I lifted a hand and let it fall. Enough said. Back home, I killed the lamp and stood a second in the honest dark. The house didn't echo anymore. It answered. Boundaries weren't walls. They were doors that closed when they should and opened when they meant it. I thought about the word that broke the party and fixed my life. Deal. Not the one she made, the one I made, with myself. I locked up, set the alarm, and let the cul-de-sac go still. Respect doesn't need witnesses. It just needs to be kept. Tomorrow could come when it was ready. I already was. I stood on the porch and let the rail cool under my palms. Same boards, same view. A loop of houses, a sky that minds its own business. String lights coiled in a bucket, party long gone. I thought about what she needed. Image, proximity, lights aimed at the version of her that sold best. She wanted the room, the applause, a mirror that only answered yes. What I needed was smaller and heavier, respect. Not the kind you rent for an evening, the kind you carry every day until it fits your hand. Turns out only one of those needs is negotiable, and it wasn't mine. I heard the word that cracked the night, deal, and let it echo one last time. Not hers, mine. The contract I signed with myself. No more stages, no more auctions, no more laughing along just to keep the peace. Quiet over noise, truth over theater, respect over revenge. Inside, the house settled like a man sitting down after a hard shift. Counters clean, locks sure, a life that runs to spec because I said so. Across the street, lights clicked off one by one, a slow bow without an audience. I reached for the switch by the door and felt the simplest ending rise in my throat. Nothing clever, nothing extra, just the line that closes the tab and turns out the lights. "Show's over,"